Hi Lorne. Your daughter Natasha has asked me to sing you a song. Would you like that?
Yes, go on, Nigel.
Okay, here goes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lorne. Happy birthday to you. That felt good.
I'm glad you're happy with it, Nigel. Thank you. So these are the EasyBee HDD servos. I'm going to use 2 of these in the Bob Houston neck modification for the InMoov, to drive the 2 pistons up and down. The ones I've been using were the MG996Rs in the past, which I've modded. I've never taken these apart, so we'll see what they're like inside. I'm just going to take the top on just in case they all fall apart when I take it. When I take the bottom off. Which happened to me once. You take these screws out and the whole thing collapses on you. So that's inside them. You can see the potentiometer in the middle there, in the bottom there. You've got the little control board wired to the motor. And I'm just going to make a little note of the wiring in this, just so although I'm filming it, it's easy if I've got it written down. With the these servos, we've just got, there's not 3 colour wire, there's just the 2 colour wire. So you've got black, which must be common. In the middle will be power, which you can see underneath because it's connected to the red wire there. It always is power in the middle. You can just see the inside. You probably can't get it in the light there. Hold on. Yeah, there's the back of the pot. I'm going to take that out in a second. I'll take it out right now. And I have to push it out from inside, so let's just open this up. There's our metal gearing inside. It's worth, if you are going to be working on these, it's really worth making a note of how those gears go together. I've done a drawing in one of my sketch pads on the larger motors because one fell apart on me once, or I took it apart and it just collapsed. And if all that does come apart, you want to know what's going on in there. There is a stop on there as well, which is that metal lug just there, which we'll take off in a minute. So that just pulls off. There's the tip of the servo, and there's the rotation stop just sitting on there. So we're going to take the servo out. Just push out there. Just to show you how that went back on again. going to sit on there. That sits in the middle there. Now this is slightly moving at the moment because in there you've got another pin that would hold that in place, which is sitting on top of the motor. So it's holding it from the bottom under, because you can just see that there's a bit of, well, there's a lot of movement on there at the moment. There's nothing really holding that on. So if I took that back off, the motor is actually driving that gear there via a gear inside here, just so you can see that. Make sure that's in there. That top there, it's got the small gear head inside which is driving that gear. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is remove that pin out of the gear, because that, as you can see when it goes round, is a stop gear. Actually, is a stop pin. Stop the rotation going more than 180 degrees. Again like that, and again it'll hit that. So we're going to see if I can remove that. Hopefully I can just pull that out or cut it out somehow. It's going to have to be pulled out because there's not much tolerance in there. On the larger servos you can actually cut it and there's a bit more tolerance inside, but we will see how we go on that. So that's the next thing we're going to do. Okay, so it wasn't actually that difficult to take the pin out in the end. As you can see, pair those and manage this grip holder and just leave it out because it's just pushed in, it's just hammered in there. So so that was actually a lot simpler than I was expecting. There's a tiny metal holder on the top there, as you can see, that you do not want to lose. So we'll just lift that off gently. But make sure that cap is just sitting back on there. It just pushes on you. Yeah, it's got a bit of spring on there. And again, remember you've got that pin there is going to go through the middle there to hold that in, hold that gear in place. So that will sit back on there. This is just connecting temporarily up to the to my EasyB unit, EasyB controller. As you can see, that moves. So by taking out the pot, I'll just make sure we're at 90. Yeah, you can't see the screen, but I've got the EasyB set at 90. By taking out the pot, we can actually create a continuous rotation on that servo now. Which of course previously the servo could only do 90 degrees. Now we're not taking this out specifically for that reason. We're taking this out just so this is a free running servo. In Gail's InMoov system, these pots are taken out and sorry, in Gail's system these pots are taken out and mounted actually in the arm, so they can monitor the angle position of the arm relative to the movement of the servo, and obviously get more turns out of the servo when it's driving geared up, bigger ratio gearing to drive the arm. So rather than the servo only doing like 180 degrees, it will do several rotations to drive the gearing to move the bicep up and down, for example, or twist the torso around, or raise an arm. The gear ratio is going to be different to how that's getting turned, and the number of turns of the motor. So normally this would just get turned within here. That would be a full turn, and that would be a full turn, and that would be a full turn. But we're now going to get multi-turns within a full turn, if you see what I'm not explaining that particularly well, but it's a lot easier to show you. But that's why the pots are taken out. So there's a gearing ratio change between that pot, between the gear and the pot. I think it's probably the best way to put it. But that's not why I'm taking these apart. I'm taking this apart because I'm going to unwire these two wires off here, and I'm going to parallel them. Well, I don't think they're parallel, I think they're back to front with this motor. So, and these are going to be the two motors driving the up and down shafts for the InMoov neck. Okay, I'm now going to take off the wiring off the back of the servo. Got the positive and negative wires there, because we're not going to use this whole assembly at all. We're going to use a different. I'm just going to extend this cable out with just a servo cable, another servo cable I've just cut in half. So we'll take that one off. Tin up these cables. Always pre-tin the cables before you solder them on. You don't want to solder on bare. You don't want to be putting wires that don't have any solder on them straight onto the. You get a terrible solder joint. It'll be effectively what's called a dry joint, and you'll have problems. So strip back quite a bit of cable, tin them up, and then cut them back. Now the way this is actually being wired is in reverse. So although that was hot, it's now going to become the cold, because the motors are working in reverse. Just going to put a bit more solder on there. So that is ready to go back together again. Yeah, it obviously had a grommet in there before, but we're not going to put the grommet back in again. So you don't want to connect this straight to the system now, because you've got no controller board in there. You'll just be putting voltage straight across the motor, which is probably not a good idea, so I'm not even going to try that. The next one we're going to take apart, and we're just going to parallel across the motor so we can wire them both together.